On September 17, 2020, you tweeted, "It looks like Putin's favorite senator could lose," referring to Senator Lindsey Graham. Could you tell me your evidence for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's favorite senator?
I don't recall that tweet and the story.
Well, I've got it. It's
tweeted
right
out.
here. It's right here.
I'm happy to look at the tweet, and I'm happy to write you, explain that. I don't know what that has to do with climate change.
Well, it has to do with your credibility. Did you say, what is your basis for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's? I mean, have you ever talked to President Putin?
Watch as Senator John Kennedy dismantles Professor Richard Painter's testimony by confronting him with his own tweets. What started as a routine Senate hearing erupted into explosive exchanges when Kennedy brought receipts, exposing years of unsubstantiated allegations against Supreme Court justices, fellow senators, and respected academics. This brutal cross-examination reveals what happens when social media rhetoric meets Senate accountability. From accusations of bought justices to claims of cash for votes, Painter struggled to defend or even remember his most serious allegations. Kennedy's final assessment, comparing the professor's credibility to his aunt's Facebook page, became an instant viral moment that perfectly captured the credibility crisis facing expert testimony in Washington. This is must-watch content for anyone concerned about truth, evidence, and accountability in public discourse. Let's dive into the main video.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses here today. Professor Painter, on May 5th of this year, you put out a tweet. You said, I'm going to quote, "There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's the Supreme Court." Would you tell me which members of the Supreme Court you believe are bought?
I was particularly concerned at that point when I posted that tweet.
I understand, but if you could, I've got really limited time, and I apologize for interrupting. Just tell me which members of the court you are bought.
I did not think that Justice Clarence Thomas should be failing to disclose his trips on a billionaire's yacht and airplane.
Do you think he's bought?
I believe that there is grave risk.
Do you think he's bought?
I said there is grave risk.
Do you think he's bought?
To the confidence of the American people in our Supreme Court.
Well, if you don't think he's bought, why did you say it?
I said
yes,
that
you said members of the Supreme Court are bought. You're here testifying as an expert for my Democratic friends, and you're saying the members of the Supreme Court are bought?
I said when the American people feel that way, when we have Supreme Court justices
feel that way?
on yachts and in planes of billionaires and not being disclosed.
Anybody besides Justice Thomas you think is bought on the Supreme Court?
I believe that the court needs to clean
Anybody
up
besides
its
Justice
act.
Thomas?
I'm not going to go through each
I mean,
justice.
you tweeted it.
I tweeted the way the American people feel.
Did you mean it when you tweeted it?
And I stand by that tweet. This Supreme Court of the United States needs to clean up its
Let me ask you a couple others here, because you've on September 17, 2020, you tweeted, "It looks like Putin's favorite senator could lose," referring to Senator Lindsey Graham. Could you tell me your evidence for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's favorite senator?
I don't recall that tweet and the story.
Well, I've got it. It's
tweeted
right
out.
here. It's right here.
I'm happy to look at the tweet, and I'm happy to write you, explain that. I don't know what that has to do with climate change.
Well, it has to do with your credibility. Did you say, what is your basis for saying that Senator Graham is President Putin's? I mean, have you ever talked to President Putin?
I have not talked to President Putin, and I would be happy to go look at the tweet and look at the story that I tweeted out and what Senator Graham had said in that context. You know, this is something
you say all this stuff. For example, you're here as an expert for my Democratic friends, and you say all this stuff. You called on September 16th, 2023, a professor at the University of Chicago, very distinguished professor, Brian Leiter. You called him a racist. Can you explain to me why you think he's a racist?
I remember a series of tweets with him. He's a Marxist who put out a number of statements attacking African Americans and women. And he also was raising money for someone who had called the police on a black student for sleeping in the common room, and now has a wokekkk.com website attacking
That's
me.
fair enough.
So
fair enough.
I will just say one thing that I learned in high school debate, that when you have no argument, you simply change the subject.
All right. On October 15th of 2020, you said Lindsey Graham is soliciting cash payments in return for voting on a Supreme Court nomination. What evidence, that's a pretty bold statement, Professor. What evidence do you have for alleging that Senator Graham was taking cash in return for one of his votes?
I don't recall that specific tweet,
Here it
but
is,
I
right here.
do.
Here it
I
is.
do recall. And
Do you think he was taking cash for one of his votes?
I have received campaign.
Do you think he was taking cash for one of his votes?
I'm answering your question, Senator. I have received solicitations from both political parties.
Do you think Lindsey Graham was taking cash for one of his votes? It's a simple question,
I have
Professor.
received cash, solicitations for cash on my email. And yes, from both political parties in connection with Supreme Court confirmation votes.
Well, I'm out of time,
wrong.
but let me just say for the record,
It's wrong.
my aunt's Facebook page has more credibility than you do. I could spend the rest of the day reading your quotes where you make allegations against people and you can't defend them.
The Kennedy versus Painter confrontation stands as a defining moment that perfectly showcases why Senator John Kennedy has become one of the most formidable voices in the United States Senate. His surgical dismantling of Professor Painter's testimony wasn't just good television, it was a masterclass in accountability, demonstrating what happens when preparation meets principle. Kennedy didn't rely on grandstanding or theatrical outrage. Instead, he brought documentation, asked direct questions, and refused to accept the evasive non-answers that have become standard fare in congressional hearings. His approach revealed a fundamental truth. Credibility cannot be assumed based on credentials alone. It must be earned through consistency, honesty, and the willingness to stand behind one's words. Professor Painter learned this lesson the hard way, discovering that inflammatory tweets written from the safety of a keyboard carry consequences when brought into the cold light of sworn testimony. Kennedy's genius lay in his simplicity. He didn't need complex arguments or lengthy speeches. Kennedy forced the witness into an impossible position. Either own the explosive allegation or admit to reckless rhetoric. Painter chose neither. Instead, he attempted to qualify his way out of accountability. The senator's final comparison to his aunt's Facebook page wasn't just a dig, it was a devastating indictment of how far standards have fallen when former White House ethics lawyers engage in the same evidence-free accusations as random internet commenters. Kennedy reminded everyone watching that words matter, evidence matters, and truth matters. In an era where reputations are casually destroyed on social media and serious allegations are treated as mere political ammunition, Kennedy stood as a bulwark against this corrosive trend. He didn't just defend the honor of fellow senators or Supreme Court justices, he defended the very notion that we should believe accusations only when backed by proof. This wasn't partisanship, it was principle. Senator Kennedy proved once again why Louisiana sent him to Washington, to ask the tough questions, demand real answers, and never let the powerful hide behind titles and credentials when accountability comes calling. His performance was nothing short of spectacular.